The Lakers lost Anthony Davis.
Yeah.
Do you think that they should be worried about them making to the playoffs?
Nah, they're gonna be a playoff team. When you got LeBron James, practically one of the top three players, if not the best player in the NBA right now. He's playing like Tom Brady. He's out there to prove a point with his
He did
18th
say
year
that
this
he
season.
wishes that he can beat Tom Brady.
So that LeBron is one of those guys that any little edge he sees from anything, he'll take it just to add to it because he's just that kind of competitor. He wants to have something else pushing him. So they'll make the playoffs. They need to rest Anthony Davis. You need him for the playoffs. You're not going to win a championship without Anthony Davis.
Yeah.
You will make the playoffs, but they need him for the championship. So
maybe he'll get his eyebrows done in between. I'm sorry.
He should, but he said he would never do that, right? They actually asked him about that when he came out of college.
Yes.
And he said he would never cut his eyebrows.
Right, because now it's his signature.
Yeah, I hope he's making money off of it, though, at least.
Well, LeBron also did say that I heard today that he's interested in coming up with an album. He cannot sing, he cannot rap, but he wants to be like a DJ Khaled, put people together, come up with the beat.
Listen, we know this. I don't know if he has an ear for that type of thing, but one thing about celebrities is other celebrities are in your circle. So it's easy for him to get some of the top artists in every area. Say we're going to make a compilation album and I want to, executive produce it and be a part of it, so he can get it done. But I don't know how great his ear is in terms of music. He has to prove that to me.
Now back to the Lakers. Do you think that with Anthony Davis being out for a little bit, they should look into Blake Griffin?
I mean, even if he wasn't out, you look into Blake Griffin. I mean, you can never have enough horses for the playoffs,
And Blake Griffin is a powerhouse.
He's a powerhouse. He's shooting the ball better now that he lost a little bit of that athleticism, but he's a smart player. He's a professional. He can give you 15 to 20 minutes. If Montrezl Harrell, who's their backup center and power forward, gets injured, or if Anthony Davis gets injured again or needs to rest in the playoffs, you got someone who has a lot of experience. So they definitely got to look into him.
So there's been a lot of controversy going up about the AllStar Weekend. The mayor, Keisha, feels like everyone needs to be clear. This is not going to be a fan base where people fly down like they usually do in celebrities. It's going to be mostly you watch at home on TV. Do you think that's a good idea, or we should fly out people like we did for the Tampa Bay?
Listen, I know Mayor Keisha is trying to, say all the right things. She knows she has the spotlight on her in her city, but half of my family lives in Atlanta, and it's crazy already. I mean, there's parties every weekend.
All the time. The strip club is making money. The wings are being popped.
Popped, right? Yeah, somebody got in trouble for that during the season. It was getting some wings from the strip club, and I think it was in Atlanta. So Atlanta's already open. So
this will make it worse.
It will make it worse, and you would get people who would probably if Atlanta's open, but people from Atlanta are there. It's different than people coming from all over the country and then going and possibly spreading the virus to their communities where they go live. So I understand the precautions that she's making. It's not going to stop people from going down there. People will be going down there to Atlanta. People will go anywhere, any excuse to leave.
And they'll have a party and maybe in a private house or watch the game privately.
Mm-hmm. I mean, even some arenas are opening up now, 2,000 to 4,000 fans now. So, we're slowly moving in the right direction. So she had to say the right things politically, but let's understand, Atlanta's been bugging out for a while now. So, it's just a little late.
I feel a little bad that we can't have an All-Star Weekend. I mean, think of all the girls. This is their season, to fly out with the, stay in the motel and find them a basketball player.
It's their time. I mean,
this is the time where you secure the bag and what's going to happen.
It's also the time for anybody 6'7" who's not in the NBA to front and act like they're in the NBA, because some of these girls, they don't know who you are.
This is the time for people who never get to play one time, but they're on the bench to be like, yo, I played for the Celtics. When do you play? During practice. And everything is being taken from them.
Yo, for real, this is their time to shine because there's so many people. No one is going to really Google you like that. It's a lot of moving parts. So, but really, all jokes aside, what I feel for is not only the fans, but this is a time also that's special for the players when they get to have their families there.
Right.
And that's those memories of the players having to go there without their families because they're working, and their families can't be a part of this weekend, which is usually the best weekend to like bring your kid to work weekend, pretty much in the
Yeah.
NBA. So that's who I feel bad for. But the girls that have another opportunity, they'll be good. They got summer league in Vegas. When the summer league gets again in Vegas, they can go out there.
I know you have heard of Mr. Green's rant.
Yes.
It was pretty bad. He's a little. Some say he's salty. What do you think?
Of course he's salty,
Some think it
but
wasn't even necessary. Like he should have just kept his mouth shut. But freedom of speech, right?
yeah, and I think, I always say this: two things can be right at the same time. So you can be salty, but you can be right in your soulfulness. Draymond Green was salty. It wasn't really his situation, but I think Draymond Green, he's one of those guys that doesn't care if it's about him. If he feels like he has a opinion, just like every sports writer has their opinion, his deserves to be heard as well. And I think he made great points. I talked it over before. You know, Owners do the same thing. When they want to trade you, they trade you. They'll talk about trading you. They'll pull you
Yeah.
out of the game 5 minutes
Some
before
don't
the
even
game.
talk. You just find out.
Exactly. I forgot one player said that they found out in the locker room, or they
Right.
found, excuse me, somebody found out. Boogie Cousins found out in an interview at the All-Star game that he was being traded from the Sacramento Kings, and had no idea. So
Sacramento Kings.
yeah,
Chris Webber.
God bless them. Yeah, they got cheated. They got cheated when Webber
That was
was there.
the worst year ever
They
in
got cheated.
history against
They
the
got cheated.
Lakers.
Yep.
I stood up. See, I even know I stood up all night and I cried.
Oh man, Chris.
I was
Well,
so devastated because they were supposed. Okay, anyway, sorry. Go ahead.
yeah, I didn't mean to take you back to that
It's
to
all
that
right.
to
It's
that dark
okay.
place. Oh man, but yeah, so I think he had a voice. I think he had a good point of view. I think players should be allowed to air out their grievances, and if they want to get traded, they should be able to say that. But also, if you're not traded as a player, be professional and go to practice, go to games, and do what you're being
And
paid
show
for.
up.
Yeah, and show up.
You
But
have a
as long as
job.
you're
Just like if you worked in corporate America, you work in a bank, you work as a teacher, you can't just be like, well, I don't want to be here, so I'm not going to show up. All right, don't show up, you'll get fired. Some of these basketball players have the luck that doesn't happen. Look like the Nets players. That could have, everyone was saying, fire them.
Yeah, I mean, but that's the thing about basketball. Like, it's such a sport driven on superstars. One or two players really make the difference that you really can't afford to have superstars upset and angry. In other sports, they like football, you see what's happening. Deshaun Watson, he's a quarterback with the Houston Texans. He's asking for a trade. They're saying they're not trading him. They probably will, but they can play a little more hardball because there's two sides of offense and defense, and there's a lot more players, 53 and plus players on the roster. Basketball, one star changes everything. So the players control the narrative.
Speaking of the players controlling the narrative, I also heard that a lot of the players are not promoting getting the vaccine. And I feel like with such a big platform, and if they want the fans back, don't you think that's something they should do? But then on the flip side, I kind of understand, because it's like, what if something happens and then it comes back on us that we were the ones saying, yo, go get this vaccine so that you could come to our show? It's going to be like, well, I got the vaccine and I don't know, like my arm blew up, but so you only want me to come to the, to watch your game? It's like, that's the real reason you don't care about me as an individual?
Listen, you used to watch the Chappelle Show?
Of course.
Remember when they was like, if there's a national emergency, no one will ever say, what does Ja Rule think about this?
Listen, remember? No one will ever think about what Ja Rule said after what he did at the Fire Festival.
No one would ever think if there was a national war and say, what would Ja Rule think? And this is where it gets crazy at. So we got players, they tell them a lot of times, shut up and dribble. Remember that? They said, shut up and dribble.
Exactly what I was thinking. This is our time, lane. Right? You tell us to shut up and dribble. We're going to shut up and dribble.
When it came to the stimulus checks, and if every American deserved a stimulus check of $1,400 to $2,000, did they ask any of the NBA players what they thought about that?
No, because they know they didn't care. They were getting their money anyway.
How about the riots that happened in the Washington Capitol? Did they ask LeBron or did they ask Kevin Durant what he thought? Did they bring him on TV to ask what they thought? But now that we have this vaccination, which the vaccination, if it works, if you feel comfortable, I'm all for it. This is an individual situation for me. This is someone's health. We don't know enough about what's happening. Let's ask the scientists. Let's get them in the front. Let's stop. I don't want LeBron James to tell me to get vaccinated because me and LeBron James are different. If I get sick, it's 30, 40 minutes for me to go to the hospital. I don't know if I can make it.
He gets sick, someone drives to him, they're in seconds.
We're in different worlds.
I also believe it goes back to like what, my girl Britney Spears said. Celebrities are not role models. They're here to, or basketball players, basketball players here to play a game. This is their job. Their job is not to put their wishes or wants on us. If Agreed. They do, that's great. If it's something that I think, but see, then it's like, oh, so now I'm speaking for other people who may say, okay, well, you want them to talk about racism, but you don't want them to talk about the vaccine. So it's
racism is something that a lot of them have experienced. It's something that they are accustomed to. It's something that historically we've seen throughout history. Correct. That they can reflect and they can go back to things and actual events that have happened. They have some kind of understanding of racial issues, with 90% of the league being African American or Black or minority. When we go into this vaccination, I mean, I'm not the smartest person, but I consider myself, I got a good education. I consider myself up to date in current events. But if someone asks me about the vaccination, I defer to them doing their own research, because this is something I don't understand. It's something most of the world doesn't understand. So excuse me if I don't care if LeBron James or
and most of them didn't even finish college. So
I mean, I'm not asking him about the vaccination. Like if they got on TV and said get vaccinated, it's not gonna. I don't think it should change your life, because if someone dies in your family, you're gonna call LeBron James and say you said I should get vaccinated? So
exactly,
nah. Do your own homework. Take the time. Talk to your doctor. This is why we need healthcare. This is why Black people and minorities can't be afraid to reach out to their doctors and people in the medical field and get expert opinions on what's happening. I wouldn't ask my doctor if I should bet on the Knicks, and I won't ask the Knicks if I should get the vaccination.
And so that's the line for the whole show. Okay, right there. That was amazing.